Cedar Cliff Forest Preserve today. We're doing a little bit of a wildflower walk. My name is Mike Rose. I'm the Natural Resource Manager here at the Forest Preserve in Winnebago County. Behind me is the Rock River. This is kind of a unique feature here at Cedar Cliff. We have a nice limestone rock cliff that goes along here, probably, I don't know, 300-400 feet long, about 30-40 feet tall. A lot of different wildflower species that grow along it. When the river's lower, you can walk along the bottom of the cliff along the river and look up at it, see more plants. I think this is a big area for Native Americans back in the day. The airport area was a huge encampment area and places where they would raise crops and just meet up and do a lot of trading. And I think this might have been an area where they sat up here and could watch down the river. So, this is a 170-acre preserve. Most of it was agriculture. We've been restoring the fields, and then we've done a lot of tree clearing and removal of the old house and barn up by the entrance. Most of the fields have been planted. They're only like a year or two old, so they're young yet and they're starting to come along. Some other features when you're walking along the river here at Cedar Cliff, you'll find what are called middens. There's where like the Native Americans would deposit the mussel shells after they cleaned them. It's almost like they're almost like their little garbage pile. So as the river washes the soil away, they start to expose them all. So then you can go through and kind of see what kind of mussels are here. Identify them, when they're sitting in here. I think a pimpleback, and this is probably a black sandshell. Okay, this is a wild ginger, and if you look, it usually grows in a mat, in a clump. And if you look down in there, you can start to see the little red flower. Cliffs, we have cliff break fern, and there's even a few patches of walking fern in different places. There's also, they're not blooming yet, but hopefully here in a couple of weeks you'll see columbine along here, and there's harebell. We have yellow honeysuckle along the cliffs here as well. Yes, it's kind of like the round disc leaves, like they look like little satellite dishes. And another tree here would be the sugar maple. You see the deeply cutted maple leaves. They got the nice straight square kind of edges. That's a good indicator. Most of them are found in floodplain forests, lower areas. Sometimes when you see the little holes that are straight across on trees like this happens to be on a sugar maple, but those are from sapsuckers. What we have here is a Virginia water leaf. It's starting to bloom. Nice little purple flower. A good way to tell with the Virginia water leaf, you start seeing these little white variegations of the leaf. This one doesn't have it for some reason. Maybe down at the lower leaves it has it. But this is a good indicator. And then next to it, there's some sharp lobed hepaticas and some Dutchman's britches that are just starting to dry up. They're about done. Along the cliff here are basswoods. They got a big, kind of a heart-shaped leaf. Multi-stemmed with a good characteristics of them. This is poison ivy. The leaves are just starting to open, but you can see it's kind of got some reddish tint to it. A thing I always look for, it looks like a mitten. This part looks like your thumb, and this looks like your fingers, so like a mitten. And leaves of 3. I always think it looks like a painter's palette. It looks like the paint on your palette, or what they call those. But it'll get a lot taller, and it'll be a long, slender seed stalk at the end. Here's some wild geraniums, beautiful purple flower. They don't bloom for very long, maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks, but then the top of it will dry up and it'll have a nice little black seed in there that'll pop, and they'll kind of like curl over and the seed will pop out of them. So you gotta be pretty quick about collection. These are woodland phlox. They have the nice little 5-petal world petals. They always smell really nice. What we have here is blue cohosh. It's not flowering yet, but the berries will be kind of a bluish purple, kind of almost like a blueberry type berry. We have a lot of different ferns here at Cedar Cliff, but this one here is a rattlesnake fern. They're just starting to come up. When we do prairie restorations, usually the first 2 years they don't look very good. They usually look weedy, and we do a lot of mowing. We'll do some overseeding and stuff, and you can see it's fairly kind of sparse, but there's little plants that are coming. The second year, I put black-eyed Susans down as a cover crop, so usually that second year you'll start seeing a lot of black-eyed Susans, so you'll get some, some pretty color with the yellow flowers. And then usually by the third year you start seeing the bergamot, and maybe some of the cone flowers start blooming, or purple prairie clovers. The black-eyed Susans will go away, but then you start seeing maybe some of the penstemons and the Alexanders and shooting stars and cone flowers, things like that start to flower. Okay, this is our second year prairie restoration planting, and here's a small spiderwort starting to come up. They have nice purple flowers. Right next to it would be a young compass plant. You can see starting to get the jagged leaf margins, and it's really hairy. And then these little guys here, those are black-eyed Susans. Okay, this is Hills thistle. This is a plug that we grew in the greenhouse, and we planted it up here on the sandy hills. And then right over here would be pale purple coneflower. Those are from seed, and we got a little spiderwort next to it. These are little blue stems. One thing we also did here at Cedar Cliff, we made about 7 of these little retention ponds. I call them little froggy ponds. This is pale Indian plantain. It'll probably get about 6 feet tall or so, and kind of has an umbel of a flower. I believe kind of yellowish kind of flowers, whitish yellow flowers. They have a real light seed that kind of blows around in the wind. I hate cleaning it because that would remind me of like cat hair, real fine little hairs on the seeds. This is a bergamot. Some people call it horse balm. It's Monarda fistulosa. Good way to tell it's a mint. So it has if you pick it, it has a square stem, and then it smells. Has a really nice, minty fragrance to it. It has a purple flower. Bumblebees love it. Usually here, I'll get a lot of it this second, third year in the restoration, and it'll kind of start to thin out a little bit. But it should be very colorful out here this year. Part of our Rusty Patch Bumblebee grant, we had a company come in and they cut all the trees, about 10 acres of trees off the site. They're all kind of invasive, old fence row trees, and so we're just trying to get rid of the fragmentation of the fields and make one big continuous prairie here. But part of the contract was they cut them down and piled them, and then we came back and with our own staff and burned the brush piles down, and they're going to restore the areas back in the prairie. So this is just one of the final parts of the process is burning the brush piles and cleaning up the mess.